Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be installing the OWL side ladder onto the van. Let's get to it. Opening the box. Here they are. You can tell that OWL takes some time and makes sure that they are nicely packaged in shipping so they don't rattle around and get damaged. And yeah, that's pretty good. So let's get them out. Explore more. Top bracket and hardware. Alright, so pretty simple unboxing. We got the bottom piece here. You can tell it gets narrower at the bottom. And of course, the OWL van logo facing that way. And then, of course, the top here. Explore more written across the top. We got the top bracket for the roof rack. And the hardware in there. Inside the bag we have OWL van sticker, nice. OWL van's patch, nice. A QR code for the install video. The hardware. T-rail for the top. Clearly labeled bottom. This is aluminum hardware. Top and middle to join the two pieces together. First thing you do, get the two pieces together. So get the bag of middle hardware. You use a 1/4 inch hex driver on these bolts right here, these cap screws. And basically what you want to do is just kind of get it aligned and probably start with the screw going through. The screws go from the outside. You basically just need to get this aligned. Hold it with your hand. Quickly feed in the screws and then get to the other side. Repeat the process from putting the screws in from the outside. Just like that. So you can see the screws are in from the outside and the nuts go on the inside, and these are captively held. So basically the slot of the ladder is sized appropriately so that it prevents the nut from spinning. So all you have to do, put your hex driver on the screw, a little bit of positive pressure just to get this started. Make sure these are sort of aligned well enough, and just screw it in. They're nylock, so you get to basically until you can no longer go finger tight anymore. Just support it enough. You can see it's so loose, so it's flexing like that. And then do the other side. So just feed the nut in and turn on the driver. Nice and easy. Alright, now you tighten them up. To make it easy on myself, I like to use the impact driver. This will be easier, especially when trying to hold it steady. You can do it with one hand, get it straight, and just do kind of loose. It's a little cocked, so I'm going to try actually turning like this. This is probably much easier. Loosen this side as well. So I got the one side tight and straight, but now this has ellipse. So I'll have to play with it a little bit and make sure it's nice and aligned. Alright, so to make it easier on myself, I'm going to use some clamps. That way I can help align everything. Put this on both top and bottom. Flush against the end and then tighten down. Alright, there we go. Much easier to do it like that. So now you can see it's nice and straight. Now that that's put together, you get the T-rail bag and the top bracket, and you mount it to the top of the van using the factory rail. Alright, welcome to the roof. Basically, get your bag of T-rail hardware. Be careful not to drop anything because you're okay. And what you want to do, get these custom T-rail bolts, and you basically just sort of wiggle them in just like that, and then as you turn them, they will self-lock on the rail. You take the nut and you can kind of just wiggle them in pretty easy, and then as you turn and tighten them, they'll counteract that torque and just self-lock in there and just be like that. One thing for positioning, you see where I have the side ladder there. The wheel well is basically there, so you want to make sure you are in that line. In the Owl Vans video, they're doing a 144, and they basically use the same as a way of lining that up with a 170-inch wheelbase. That doesn't work out, so you don't really have anything to judge it. You just have to put it on and put it where you want it. All right, so what you want to do, after you get the T-nuts loosely where you want them to be, get the bracket, and you mount the bracket so that the flat spot is pointed out, and that the 2 feet, I guess, are what mounts to the roof rail itself, just like that. Get your washer and nut and get those on. Now it's in there. Get your 1/2-inch wrench and just go to town on it. Screw that, get a 1/2-inch socket. Got my 1/2-inch socket on the impact driver, and I'm going to try and get this back to where I want it. And kind of just, so I don't want these tight right now because I still need to wiggle the ladder into its final spot. So I'm just going to loosen these up a little bit. And that way I should be able to move it around. And hopefully it doesn't line up with here. I'd rather not do that. So let's go to the next step. So this is where it gets a little awkward if you're doing this by yourself. To help me raise the ladder, I have it resting on the box it came in with some clamps there just to prevent it from sliding out. What you want to do, I'm holding the ladder this whole time so it doesn't fall. My driveway is also really sloped, so I have to fight that as well. So what you want to do is get the bag of top hardware. It goes bolt, washer, nut. So bolt and washer. Put the bolt in from underneath, and basically, hopefully, I'm gonna get the washer started, and then put the nut on there, like so. And then get the next one. Hard to do this with just a couple fingers while you're holding the ladder, while you're on a slope. All right, now insert the next bolt, washer, and nut. Then you get your 9/16 wrench, 7/36 Allen key. Allen key goes in the bolt, and the wrench obviously on the nut. And you can't do that by hand for very long, so impact driver it is if it'll fit in this space. I'm gonna need an extension. Be right back. All right, got the extension. Let's get this tight. And this one, you can get it tight for now. I want to make sure this is straight. Not as easy to do when you're fighting gravity on a hill. Okay, looks pretty even going across. Now let's wiggle it into our final position. This was helping me support it for a short period of time. On the 170, you have that much space, basically, side to side. So get it where you want it to be. You want to make sure you have enough of the pinch weld down here. And as you do it, hold it up as high as you can on that pinch weld. All right, so it's the next day. I was kind of running out of light last night. Not that it took very long, but I started out pretty late. Just wanted to kind of change the view of the van, get it on a more flat surface and see from the side. We had the little fender covers there just kind of taped in place just to kind of give an idea visually what that looks like. More or less, I think what we're going to do, I have it kind of clamped down there just to keep the position, but looks good. I'm going to make sure it's nice and straight. Now, because this seam is kind of far away from the ladder, you can't really use it as a reference to make sure it's straight. So I'm going to use this piece of cut off 2x4 here, just kind of place it up against the van so it has a nice straight place so you meet up against the ladder and then I'll take the measurement from the 2x4 to the seam there, and that will allow me to get a consistent measurement from top to bottom all over the place, just to make sure that the ladder is nice and straight. So I have a clamp here just holding it in place as high as I possibly can on this seam, and I can drill the holes like there and not worry about it moving on me. All right, so these two holes are sized for these 1/4 inch aluminum bolts. You have to be careful with these being aluminum because that means they're very soft and can easily break. These are so light it feels crazy. It feels like it wants to float. Anyways, so I'm using a 17/64 bit because that barely fits in here, and yeah, I'll drill the two holes. Now with this being clamped in place, I don't need to worry about it shifting on me or anything like that. So I can drill the two holes at the same time. In the Owl-Vans video, they didn't clamp it. They basically drilled one, put the screw on to clamp that in place, and then drilled the other one. And that's how they locked the hole. But if you have a clamp like this, you don't need to do that. Truthfully, I might just get the hole started and then take the ladder off. So I'm starting to scrape the hole of the ladder, especially with these tubes being so close to the holes. I'm barely clearing with my drill, so I don't want to scratch that. So I have the hole started here. I'm gonna get the hole started there and then take the ladder off and continue with the holes. So now you need to install the hardware. You use a 7/16 wrench at the back end and a number 4 hex driver. Okay, so to install this hardware, you take the bolt and obviously put it through the hole, just like that. I'll probably do both at the same time. Perfect fit. Then you use washer and the nut on the back side, and then just carefully get it threaded correctly. So with these just loosely placed, I'm gonna reposition the ladder how I had it, just to make sure it's straight up and down. Probably clamp it and then tighten these bolts. To tighten these bolts, use a M4 hex driver and a 7/16 inch wrench. Start tightening them. I'm going to tighten on the nut and not the screw. I don't want to turn the aluminum bolt head, if I can avoid it, against the metal of the ladder bracket. Alright, not a lot of torque, just enough to get it tight because aluminum don't like much torque. Good and tight, as they say. Remember, not a lot of torque. With aluminum, you will break that bolt real quickly if you do that. Now, we go back up top. All right, so now we are back on the roof, or next to it. I'm still on a separate ladder. I'm not on this yet. Probably will be okay at this point, but I'm gonna wait. The first thing to do is retighten these guys, and we're almost done actually. Okay, really, that's pretty solid. So one thing I did, which I forgot to show you, is basically just push this all the way up against the edge of the rail here, and that just brings the ladder in as close as possible. And now we're done. Make sure you get all your tools off the roof of the van. And now you can climb up on your ladder and get to the roof. And you can admire how dirty your roof is. In case you're wondering, I'm shaking the van. It feels very stable. Alright, so that was the installation of the Owl-Vans Explorer ladder. As you can see, went together pretty easily. It's just a few bolts, a couple drilled holes, and that's about it. Altogether, it took me about 2.5 hours. That's including filming though, which does take up some more time. So realistically, you could probably bang it out in an hour and a half if you work at it pretty well. I must say, I do think that the ladder looks awesome. It's a great design with some modularity. I do like how it has that subtle Explore More that shows up as a shadow, kind of negative space on your van. It is a very cool touch. I will give Owl-Vans that one. I must say, it does look pretty good. Pretty happy with it. It's very solid. I'm shaking the whole van doing this. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Hope you learned something. If you did, hit that like button, leave a comment down below if this helps you out figuring out how to install this ladder yourself. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Quarter-inch aluminum